Well, the federal opposition leader has hit back at the Prime Minister over her campaign to paint the coalition as anti-economic reform. In a speech tonight, Tony Abbott has picked apart Labor's agenda and named some priority areas of his own. Earlier this week, Julia Gillard accused the coalition of veering towards economic Hansonism. But Mr Abbott has adopted the same label to describe one of the government's key policies. The coalition has also been forced to fend off an attack from one of the big banks. From Canberra, Susan McDonald reports.
Tony Abbott has set out to reclaim the economic debate.
For Labor, economic reform has mostly meant new ways for government to have a bigger role. For the Coalition, economic reform has generally meant reducing the size of government and expanding the scope for private initiative.
After a week of government criticism and the Prime Minister's warning of economic Hansonism in coalition ranks, the opposition leader has returned fire, with Labor's national broadband network a key target.
The NBN will be surrounded by a thicket of new laws against competition. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the only economic Hansonism currently on offer.
Mr Abbott has rubbished the government's economic credentials and made his case for tax reform and changes to welfare.
Even small changes to the disability support system can be politically perilous, but they should be further explored if Australia's participation rate is to increase.
He's calling for policy input from industry and community groups. There's one business leader who's less than impressed by the Liberal Party's recent record.
It is a real shame that the Liberal economic credentials have been somewhat hijacked by what is a sort of out there set of proposals.
The Shadow Treasurer bashed the banks and they're bashing back.
He seems to be on almost some sort of personal vendetta.
The ANZ boss has praised the work of former Treasurer Peter Costello and even former Liberal leader Malcolm Turnbull. But for Joe Hockey and his 9-point plan, there's a very cold shoulder.
Our personal satisfaction levels in the bank are 80%. Which I suspect is somewhat higher than Mr Hockey's right now.
But the Shadow Treasurer won't be deterred.
Bank CEOs can shoot me, they can decry me, they can have a go at me. I don't mind, because we are standing up for consumers, we're standing up for small business.
The bank of his critic has posted a full-year profit of $4.5 billion, a 53% rise.
I welcome profits, but I love competition.
He's not alone. The Senate has agreed to set up an inquiry into the banking sector.
The ayes have it.
There is real scope there to look at a number of significant reforms, including having a much stronger competitive framework.
It's not broken. What are they going to inquire about? It leaves me a little bit bemused, I must say.
The banking inquiry is another example of independents flexing their muscles. The day delivered a string of votes on bills and motions made possible by the new parliamentary rules. 2 were successful. It's the first time in years that a non-government bill has made it through the House of Representatives. The independent Andrew Wilkie's effort to protect whistleblowers was the first, and the opposition pulled off its bid to ease eligibility rules for youth allowance.
The Coalition has had a very significant win today.
But at one point, the numbers weren't counted at all.
I think the noes have it.
The bill's sponsor, the Liberals' Christopher Pyne, was nowhere to be seen, so his judicial inquiry into the school halls program was defeated.
You wouldn't compare him with Rocky Balboa, but it's a bit like a heavyweight championship fight where you challenge your opponent and then you don't turn up when the vote's on.
It was a tactical move, says the manager of opposition business. He sensed defeat and thought a vote was pointless.
Mr Albanese often goes off half-cocked when he doesn't know the full facts.
The government made a concession too. After resisting pressure to release Henry tax review documents, the Treasurer changed his mind under a deal with the Greens.
Senator Brown.
Their number one issue has now reached the Parliament: euthanasia rights for the territories.
70 to 80 or more % of Australians, and this includes people in the territories, favour legislation for voluntary euthanasia.
Members are making the most of having a greater say, and the crossbenchers are making the most of the limelight, this time for charity. Susan McDonald, Lateline.